right, folks, Drive Radio fans. John Rush, your host, my son Richard behind the camera, and Happy New Year. This is our first review of 2015. This is the 2015 Lexus LX570. I actually drove one of these cars last year, a 2014 model, and there's not a lot of difference in the 2015 model. We'll get into that as we go through the review, but really, essentially, 2014 to 2015, some differences with the Intune system, eyes-free for the Siri portion of it if you're an iPhone user. That's really about it. But let's get into the car. We'll do a walk around. Nice car, self-adjusting headlamps, very nice to drive at night. This particular car, this model car that we're driving, does have the camera system. You can see there's a camera here. There's one on the rear view mirror, one in the back. You can actually do a 360 around the vehicle to see what's around you if you're in a crosswalk or you want to check your surroundings before you actually pull out. You're in a tight parking place, things like that. This car, we're averaging about 13.5 to 14 miles to the gallon. That's a little disappointing for this car. It does have good power, 380 horsepower. It'll tow up to 7,000 pounds. This car, we're just going to walk around it. You can see what it is. It's sitting low right now because we're in the exit mode of the car. This particular vehicle does have the ability to raise and lower depending upon what you're doing, on-road, off-road. This is a very capable off-road vehicle. One thing that it has, and we'll talk about it in the driving portion, is when you're in the low-range mode, you're trying to get around a really tight corner, it has the ability to apply the brakes one side or the other in the rear to make that turning radius that much shorter. Stopping the left brake, for example, would make it turn that corner much sharper. So that's a kind of a crawl mode feature that it has. This vehicle, again, off-road capability is very good. It does have a hitch back here, so that's underneath here. That's where you get the 7,000 pound towing capacity out of. We'll talk about some of the rear hatch and some of that mechanism in a minute, which is one thing I don't like on the vehicle. Okay, here's the good sides of it. Off-roading, this vehicle would be my choice over, say, a Denali or an Escalade or something else, in its class. And I say that because of the crawl mode, what it can do as far as the tight turning radiance, the adjustable heights, the fact that it does have a low range mode into the transfer case, things like that make this a very, very capable off-road vehicle. On-road, Lexus, I think you've got some work to do. Some of you out there are gonna not agree with me on this because some of you didn't agree with the Cadillac Escalade review that we did and thought this car was better than the Escalade. Well, I'll give you some side-by-side comparisons. The Escalade does better on fuel economy. We even drove the long extended wheelbase version of the Escalade. It did 3 to 5 miles to the gallon better in fuel economy than this car did. Had more horsepower, will tow more. Granted, it doesn't have the low range and the off-road capability that this car has, and came standard with lane departure and adaptive cruise control, and both vehicles are right around the $90,000 mark. This vehicle is just a tad over $90K as we see it right now and as we've been driving it. So Lexus, add adaptive cruise control, add lane departure, those things on $90,000 cars should be standard. So guys, with that, tell you what, we'll go through the interior portion. We're going to go for a drive also. You'll see from the road conditions around us, we've been in sub-zero weather here recently. We're just now getting out of we're still in the teens even as we speak, as we do this review right now. That's why it's a little chilly out. We'll give some good testing on this on the road, on the driving portion, I should say, on the road. We'll kind of show you how the traction control, etc. works. This car in these conditions works fantastic. So I don't want to badmouth this car because it is a very, very nice car, but Lexus, I feel like you've got a few things that are a little bit outdated. You need to upgrade. We'll get into that in the rest of the review. Keep watching. All right, folks, I want to show you one feature before we actually go out for the driving portion of the review, and that is, like I talked earlier, it does have great ability off-road. As you can see, I've got it in low range right now. I've got it in the high suspension setting. You can see how high the vehicle is actually sitting right now. Richard will kind of zoom in on the wheel wells. You can kind of see how much different it is. I'm guessing, I didn't measure it with a tape measure, but I'm guessing we've gained around 3 inches or so of extra clearance. I'd have to look in the manual to see exactly, but just from feel, that's about what it looks like. I'm going to now go to the neutral position, and you can now watch it lower right down. See that? We just lowered right down, and I can now go even into the low position, and it'll even go all the way down to low. So I'm going to go back up to the neutral position, and it takes a little bit for this to happen, so we may not have time to actually watch all of this, but it slowly goes right back up into a neutral driving position. And again, one of the great features, off-road capability that the LX570 has. All right, folks, we're going to do the driving portion now. One thing I need to mention, too, Richard talked about this a second ago, and I want to make sure that I don't forget this because I've got a lot to talk about with this car. The middle seat, which Richard's now sitting in, both sides of it are actually power adjustable as far as the distance front to back. So kind of a cool feature in the middle seat that Richard's actually now sitting in. But going back to the camera system, which we talked about being a feature on this model that we're driving, we're now in reverse. You can see, going to see where we're going this way. And then when I go to shift forward, or going to drive, I should say, and I want to turn to the right, it actually shows where that would be going. It doesn't do it to the left because, of course, I can see out of the left-hand side. So if you're trying to parallel park, do something along those lines, I can just see how close, even over here to the curb, I'm getting, and you can just see it just kind of would line you right up. And you can't see the curb real well because it's covered in snow right now. But again, one of the nice features that this particular car has, again, I like this car a lot. Heated seats in the front. There is a button here for powered, economy, and a second start button. So if you want to start out in second gear to try to help your fuel economy, you can. Real quick, I'll run through some of these buttons in here. High range, push it in, then you go to low range. Sometimes you got to go to neutral to get the transfer case to set. There's a lock button for the differential, which is right here, which locks the differential in. You can do that in 4 high or 4 low. These are the different terrain settings, so as you're crawling along, you can choose what you want to be in as far as all the different settings in, from rock to snow to all the different features. Those are all right here. And this, a minute ago, I showed you the high and low position of the suspension. That's all controlled here. And then as far as the actual driving of the vehicle, you've got comfort, standard, and sport as far as how the suspension in that is tuned. And then the other thing I talked about in the initial opening is you hit this button here to help with the turning radius when you're rock crawling. You hit that button and it will lock up one of the rear brakes so you can actually get around a corner a little tighter if you're off on a logging road or something like that where it's really, really tight. But most of the rest of the stuff is here. You can wash the headlights, steering wheel's heated, different controls for anti-lock and all of that's over here. The rear hatch buttons, the mirrors, all of those different things. Let's go for a ride. Richard's in the back seat. One thing that we've commented about is how quiet this car is, how well the car works. We're going to go driving in the snow right now, and you'll just see that this car works well. Probably should put my seatbelt on so it doesn't keep dinging, which I'll do. But this car is smooth. It's quiet. I'm going to not talk for just a second so you can hear how quiet it is. Very quiet car, very capable car in the snow. We've had about 8 inches of snow or so roughly here in the last week and a half here in Denver. We've driven on these types of roads all over. This car does not miss a beat. It works fantastic. It is smooth. I like the frame on body construction. That's the kind of guy that I am. I like vehicles that are frame on body. A lot of the newer SUVs and so on are all unibody, and I get why that's the case. But again, coming down this hill, works fantastic. You can see where some people have actually ran over here and ran into the curbs as we're driving along. This car, I would feel very confident driving anywhere you want to go. Rain, sleet, snow, off-roading. I don't know if I'd go heavy rock crawling like you would in a Jeep, but if you want to get someplace, go fly fishing, go camping, hunting, things like that, will this vehicle get you there? Yep, it'll get you there and back. And the only downside is it does it with about 13 miles to the gallon. So you know what, when you're buying a $90,000 car, typically fuel economy is not a big deal. And with our $2 gas prices we have right now, that makes it all the more easier, but they probably won't stay that way forever. But hey, let's go back. We'll run through the rest of the interior and just keep watching. All right, folks, we're going to go through the interior. We'll start in the back like we normally do. And a couple of things, Richard even mentioned this in the short review, and we did everything possible to try to figure out if there's something that we're doing wrong, and I don't think we are. I'm going to show you a couple of things. If I have the key fob with me, which I do, or I'm inside the vehicle and I push the button, I can hold it down, and this back gate's going to open up. Great, that works out fantastic. I can now also lower the secondary gate, which is kind of a cool thing. Gives you a little more ability to slide things in. And I'll show you the seats here in just a moment. But one other thing, Lexus, that, again, Land Rover has a similar back hatch. I don't even have to do anything to raise this back up. I just hit a button on the side and it goes back up. In this particular car, I do have to close it. And I don't have to close it all the way because it will suck it shut. And it will close automatically when I hit that button. That part works out great. I wish the lower one went up by itself for $90,000, but it doesn't, so it is what it is. Again, not knocking the car. It wouldn't keep me from buying this car because of that. Just something you all need to know. Now, here's the interesting part. If I don't have the key fob with me, which would be undoubtedly that you would be in that case because you can't get in the vehicle and drive it. But let's just say my hands are full. I don't know where the key fob's at. It's in my purse. It's in my pocket. I don't want to go digging for it. If I even just hit the button to open the gate, that's great. it unlocks it, and I can unlock and lock the car from the button, but it doesn't open the gate. I literally have to now pull this to get it to come open because there's no automatic feature that we can find anywhere on the back. And here's the deal. I read the manual. I've looked at everything I need to. If I, being the car guy that I am, can't figure out how to automatically make this hatch work, it either doesn't or no one else is going to figure it out either. So if I'm making a big mistake there, somebody write me a comment, tell me what we did wrong so you can share that with the other people out there that are watching the reviews. But just a few knocks that I've got. That Lexus, you need to fix that portion of this particular car for that kind of money. All right, going back into the back now. I've got the seats up because we had some stuff in here that we were hauling. If I want to put them back down, literally all I do, push a button, that goes down. I can then push it back up, back down, and to get the back up, you have to pull that. Again, another feature that I'm not super fond of. These are, just in my opinion, these are still somewhat cheesy. There's better ways to do this. Yeah, it gets them out of the way, but you know, you still have this much of the floor that's being taken up when the seats are up. Granted, the wheel well's there, so they've tucked it all in, so you're really not losing a lot. But again, just something that I look at this and it's just cumbersome. It shouldn't be that way. So let's move up into the middle seat. Enough about the rear here. We'll come around here to the side. And again, front seats are back all the way. I'm just going to climb in here and kind of show you how much room we've got. So I'll step on up in here. Again, this back seat's back all the way. I made sure that it is. Snow brush out of the way. I've got plenty of room, and this seat can go forward, you know, with plenty of room for the front seat, leg room wise. This could go forward, you know, 4 or 5 inches and really give me a lot of room. So it's very comfortable. Nice console in the back, storage in the middle, cup holders that come up. This does double as a seat. The headrest comes up where you can put somebody in the middle. That's where they get the 8 passengers, 3 in the back, 3 in the middle, 2 in the front. DVD screens, which are extra. $2,000 option on this car. Not sure I'd spend the money for $2,000 in DVDs with all of the iPad and the entertainments and things that some other manufacturers are doing. Again, Lexus, pay attention to some of your competition. Audi, for example, even GM are putting LTE Wi-Fi built into the car. Granted, you have to have a data plan, but then anyone with any device sitting inside the vehicle and an iPad can do anything they want to do, not dependent on something that's been stuck into the headrest like these, or on the back of the seat like these are. Good headroom, that part of it I like. Again, great, capable off-road vehicle. I do like it. You know, the sister to this car, which I haven't mentioned yet, by the way, folks, is the Toyota Land Cruiser. So if you're familiar with the Land Cruiser, this is basically a high-end Land Cruiser. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. Land Cruiser builds a great vehicle. In fact, in Africa, where I've been several times on different trips and things, there's a saying in Africa, if you want to go on safari, take a Land Rover. If you want to get home from safari, take a Land Cruiser. So that's what they talk about in Africa, and I do agree with that. This is, again, a very built, sturdy, heavy-duty off-road vehicle. Works fantastic. I'm going to jump around to the driver's seat. I'll open this up for Richard. All right, folks, now sitting in the driver's seat, and again, apologize for my nose is running. It's very cold outside. Doing these reviews in the middle of winter is tough here in Colorado, but I'm going to start the car up, again, just so we get some warmth coming in. You can kind of hear how the car sounds. A couple of things Richard and I have noted. Nice, soft touches inside the vehicle for the most part. You know, sides of the console, side of the dash, but some things that I don't like, and Richard will show you on the door panel over there. Real cheap, plasticky looking up above. You know, they've got wood grain right next to where the plastic is with leather on the actual, you know, door handle itself, which is nice. The dash up here on top, again, real hard plasticky surface, followed by some nice trim, you know, the wood grain, another plastic piece for the glove box and so on, and then you've got nice padded. I don't know why they couldn't stitch all this out and make it really nice and padded. Maybe they just figured that for the off-roading side of the fence you wouldn't need it. But again, this is a $90,000 vehicle. Guys, sorry Lexus, I expect more from you on $90,000 than cheap plastic on the dash. I love Lexus, I love Toyota, you guys know that, you're good to me. I love what you guys do. One other thing that I don't care much for is the steering wheel. It's outdated. As you can even look from it, there's not a lot of buttons, which that's great. The simplicity of it is fine. but it's just there's not much here. Most of what you have to do to control anything, you're reaching your hand over to do something else as opposed to doing it right off the steering wheel. Granted, with the Series Eyes free and so on, you can talk to the vehicle and make it do a lot of those things. But again, just a side note, not trying to be critical, just giving you guys out there as we review these things the ability to kind of know what's going on before you actually go out, get in the car and drive it for yourself. So some things that are adjustable, which I do like. If you depending upon where you're sitting and where you want to put your arm, you can adjust it with these. The console does open up. This is a cool box also, so it's actually a cooler, which is really kind of a cool feature also. There also is your cup holders that are in here. Little storage compartment. Sorry, no storage compartment. That's right here. Outlets. This is actually an ashtray, and I keep my phone in it when I'm driving. One thing I do like, thank you Lexus for doing this, you can put your glasses up and above here, which a lot of the European manufacturers do not do. I do like that. Overall, nice vehicle. It's got good controls, although when you get in this car, it's going to feel a little dated. Lexus, I don't know when the next version of this car is coming, but some of this interior feature-wise and how things feel, to me personally, just feels a little bit dated. When you climb in another Lexus, or even some of the Toyotas that are out now, they just feel a little more modern than this. Would not keep me from buying this vehicle. Again, it's a very, very capable off-road vehicle. You saw us when we demonstrated that, and in the driving portion we talked about some of the features that are down here on the console when it comes to some of the off-road capabilities. But guys, with that, we'll get going and get out of here. Listen to us every Saturday. Drive Radio is the radio program we have here in Denver. It's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can listen to it on the TuneIn app or listen to us live right on the website, drive-radio.com. We stream everything right from the website, and also our YouTube channel, Drive Radio, all one word. You can watch us live on Saturdays or pick up one of our previous shows and all of our podcasts. If you've missed a previous show and you'd like to catch something there, they're all on SoundCloud, and you can actually view those right on our website also. So guys, with that, we're going to get out of here. Keep watching, keep giving us comments and feedback, and sure hope you have a great and prosperous 2015.